up with this? Well, Frank Warren had this to say. He says, Joshua, don't fight. Wait for the Fury Wilder winner. He's quoted as saying, everybody knows, and it showed 100% New York. If he gets clipped on the chin, he'll go. His tactics were spot on for his last fight, 100%. But he fought a guy who came in 15 or 16 pounds heavier than when he won the title, and admits he never trained, by his own admission. If I was Anthony Joshua, I wouldn't fight again until we know the winner of this fight, and then make that fight. I'd let them strip me of my titles and not fight anybody until the big one. The one thing about Pulev, he can whack. Usyk is a small guy, 32 years of age, and a good boxer. So I would say, I want the winner of our fight, Wilder versus Fury 2. Get all the parties together, work something out, maybe some step-aside money. That's what I would do, because that's what the public wants. They want to know who is the number one. The number 3 and number 4 fought in Saudi. The number 1 and number 2 are fighting on February 22nd. Well, I don't think I gotta tell you that Frank Warren doesn't actually have Anthony Joshua's best interests in mind. Not dispensing this kind of advice. I mean, what kind of advice is this? Allow the powers that be to strip you of the world titles that you just won back in the Andy Ruiz rematch so that you could do what? With the winner of Wilder versus Fury 2? Approach it as a challenger instead of a unified champion? Is that your advice? You know, somehow, I don't think it's Joshua's best interests you have in mind. Not with that kind of counsel, not giving out that kind of advice. You know, the way this thing breaks down, Anthony Joshua potentially satisfying one of his mandatories, the front runner being Kubrat Pulev. That doesn't actually get in the way of a unification match while Anthony Joshua's fighting that guy, you know. Fury and Wilder are going to be doing what they're going to be doing. I mean, the timelines actually coalesce pretty well, so it's not actually a requisite that he skip out on fighting a mandatory to wait for the winner of that fight. In all honesty, it behooves him to get back in the ring and continue to grow and round out his repertoire, round out his skills as a fighter now that he has so added to them. And I think that against Kubrat Pulev, that's just what the doctor ordered. He doesn't have to give up anything. He doesn't have to skip out on fighting anybody to get the winner of Wilder versus Fury 2. The timelines, as stated, they coalesce pretty well.
They do.
And even if Anthony Joshua has yet another mandatory challenger in line thereafter, even if he did, well, let's put it this way. If the winner of Wilder versus Fury 2 were dead set to face Anthony Joshua next, regardless of who the winner is, whether it's Wilder or Tyson Fury, if the winner of that fight were already dead set to face Anthony Joshua wouldn't have to vacate his titles because unifications trump mandatories. And the winner of that fight will be the WBC champion, whether it's Deontay Wilder, who's already the champion, or Tyson Fury, if he by some chance beats Deontay Wilder and takes his belt. In other words, vacating the titles don't got a goddamn fucking thing to do with nothing, and the only reason Frank Warren is saying that shit is because it benefits his fight.
Potentially.
Because if his fighter ends up being the WBC champion, his fighter being Tyson Fury, well, Joshua vacating his belts would make him little more than just a challenger instead of a unified, reigning champion. And that don't benefit Joshua, but it do benefit Fury. So it's no surprise that this is the kind of advice that Frank Warren has for Anthony Joshua. Stated, he doesn't have that guy's best interests in mind, though that much is obvious. And quite honestly, how much sense would it make for Anthony Joshua to have unified 3 of the 4 major titles in the heavyweight division, only for him to give them up? You know, to have gone through all the trouble of gathering all these belts, fighting these champions, subsequently losing the belts to Andy Ruiz, and then winning them back. To have gone through all that trouble just to give them up?
Yeah, that doesn't make no fucking sense.
Give up his belts for what exactly? What could be another set of failed negotiations with Deontay Wilder if he wins the rematch? Or worse, give up his belts just to be stood up. You see, when it comes to Wilder versus Fury 2, what could be a potential trilogy.
It's possible.
According to Bob Arum, there's not an immediate rematch in play per se, but the loser of the fight does have the option to exercise a rematch, really a rubber match in these two guys' case. But the loser of the fight does have the option to go into an immediate fight for a reduced purse. Rather than the 50-50 that they're going to have for the second fight, the loser of the fight has the option of taking a financial hit so that there could be an immediate third fight thereafter, at a split of 60-40. And you gotta use your heads here, kids. If the rematch proves to be a big hit, a big success, if they do really good numbers, in all honesty, they might want to go into a third fight anyway, just because of what it could mean, what financial gains could be amassed as a result of a third fight. That's provided that the second fight is a big financial success. And in all honesty, they need it to be.
Yeah.
They do. So why the fuck would Anthony Joshua vacate the belts that he just won back to face the winner of that fight when he doesn't know if the winner of that fight is going to be available to fight anyway? I mean, that's what makes Frank Warren's advice so cockamamie and asinine, that he can't possibly have Anthony Joshua's best interests in mind. But then again, since when does Anthony Joshua take career advice from Frank fucking Warren?
Exactly.
It is entirely possible that 2020 can come and go without Anthony Joshua facing the winner of that fight. Highly possible, depending on how the cookie crumbles. Though Joshua won't skip a beat because he's got no shortage of potential opponent options. He's got Pulev, who we mentioned earlier, and if by some chance something can be worked out between Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk, and the WBO to where maybe some step-aside money's paid to buy him some more time to satisfy Usyk as a mandatory later on this year, well, he'll have that to look forward to. And rest assured, Joshua versus Usyk in the UK would do fantastic numbers. So there's no shortage of big fights to be had and big paydays to be made, even in the absence of the Fury versus Wilder winner, regardless of who it is, whether it's Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. And just in regards to those two gentlemen and what is their rematch, the particulars that are associated with it. I think a third fight is a possibility, but that in and of itself hinges on certain things. I mean, what if Deontay Wilder knocks out Tyson Fury in devastating fashion? Is he going to be in a hurry to have a third fight if he gets put down and he stays down? I mean, that's a legitimate question, I think. And the same is true in reverse. Let's say Tyson Fury doesn't outpoint Deontay Wilder. Let's say he shocks the world a little more and sleeps him. What if he gets him out of there? What if he gets a stoppage? Do you think Deontay Wilder and his people would be in any kind of hurry to go right into a third fight?
It's a good question.
And those aren't just legitimate questions, they're relevant questions. Every single one of them. If the loser of the fight loses in devastating fashion, are they going to be in any hurry to even have a third fight? At a financial cost to boot, because I reiterate, the loser of the fight would be going into a third fight at a reduced split. It would be at 40% instead of 50%. So would the loser of the fight want to even go into a third fight under those circumstances? Those are relevant questions, they are. One thing I think is really important, though, is that if the rematch, if the second fight does well at the box office, if it does well financially, I think that's going to be incentive enough for both sides to want to go into a third fight. If it does, not just well, but very well. They're going to see what it did, and they're going to say, let's do it one more time. I mean, we just did pretty goddamn good with the rematch. Let's go for it third time. Third time's the charm. Maybe we'll do a little better. I think that's important, too. I think that there's a lot to think about there. But staying on the subject and just back to the point, it makes absolutely no sense for Anthony Joshua to vacate the 3 world titles they just won back when he doesn't even know right now that he'll get the winner of that fight. The winner of that fight might be all tied up, satisfying the loser for it could be a third fight. So no, that makes no sense. But, Frank Warren didn't say that so that it would make sense. It doesn't have to make sense for Anthony Joshua. It makes sense for Frank, it makes sense for Tyson, and what they want. In other news, Michael Benson tweeted, when Javonte Davis was asked about a potential future fight with Vasyl Lomachenko at his post-fight press conference, a few in the crowd shouted, "Fuck Lomachenko." Tank didn't seem impressed the second time.
He up in age, so he trying to make the biggest fights he can make at a short period of time. So everybody got that different path. I'm 25 years old. My stretch a little longer than his, so we're taking our time.
Okay, thank you. Make a final statement.
Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all again.
Just finish it. They want to shot what you hold.
I said what I said.
And you know that Javonte Davis is talking about fighting anywhere from 135 to 130 pounds.
Can he make it?
That he may be fluctuating in weight, though how much success he'll have doing that is anybody's guess, because this guy was struggling to make 130, and we see that he didn't make 135 on the first try. So fluctuating in weight for Javonte Davis could prove difficult, and those difficulties may show up in his performance. In all likelihood, he will be facing Leo Santa Cruz next, and I don't know that Leo's going to jump all the way up there to 135, having just landed at 130. It seems to me that that's a fight that might possibly happen at a catch weight, somewhere between 130 and 135, because it seems to me that 130 is all too difficult for Javonte Davis to make. I have to say that I find it absolutely ridiculous the way that they're guiding this fighter around most every single elite level opponent, anywhere from 130 to 135. I mean, what'd you move up to 135 pounds for?
Huh?
You know, if you're not going to fight anybody good at 135 pounds, then what'd you move up there for?
'Cause he can't make 130.
You're telling me you moved up to 135 to fight a guy from 126 who just moved up to 130? Well, for that, you should have just fucking stayed at 130. And as far as the Lomachenko fight, I'll tell you what, the tune hasn't changed. From 2017 till now at the end of 2019, going into 2020, you're still singing the same tune. I told you guys before the Gamboa fight, okay? I told you. Don't look for Javonte Davis to face any elite level opponents in the 135-pound division. Don't look for it. Don't look for him to fight Teofimo Lopez.
Won't happen.
Don't look for him to fight Devin Haney.
Won't happen.
Don't look for him to fight Lomachenko. It simply won't happen.
Won't happen.
Least of all behind a performance like that. I mean, if you need 12 rounds for a one-legged fighter, a guy who's basically a sitting duck,
38 years old.
and you can't get that guy out of there in under 12 rounds, what the fuck's Devin Haney gonna do to you? What the fuck is Teofimo Lopez gonna do to you? Lomachenko, forget it. He wipes his ass with this kid. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Javonte Davis's fans might want to be in denial about it, but you know what? There really aren't that many of those people to begin with. Look, Javonte Davis
Is protected.
is being given a pass to circumvent most every single elite level fighter anywhere from 130 to 135. And one has to wonder, okay, his fans clearly can't be fans of the sport of boxing. They're definitely fans of him, but they're not fans of the sport of boxing because they don't want this guy to fight anybody good in the sport of boxing. They don't want him to fight Lomachenko. They don't want him to fight Tevin Farmer. They don't want him to fight any of the elite level young up and comers at 135. They don't want this guy fighting nobody. You know, they're giving him a pass to do this. But in truth, it doesn't matter if those individuals give him a pass because they only make up for a subsect of the boxing fans. Javonte Davis cannot cross over to superstar status until he starts taking chances the way his mentor did when he was a young fighter. Talking about Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather took a chance on Oscar De La Hoya. Took a chance. He acquiesced to his demands because Oscar was the bigger name, the marquee fighter. He fought him at his weight, used the gloves that he wanted. He acquiesced to those demands because he knew what was on the other side of that fight. He had the moxie
Davis ain't got.
that Javonte Davis doesn't have. The moxie that his own handlers don't have enough faith in him
To bank on.
to where they would put him in a risky situation. They simply won't do it. And because of this, Javonte Davis is set to self-destruct. It's only a matter of time. Oh yeah, he is set to implode.
He won't last.
Oh, I know. His fans on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, they might give him a pass for whatever other tomato can they conjure up for him, or whatever elite level little guy they put in there with him. They might give him a pass. But the ramifications of how his career is being handled extend far beyond the anecdotes of the talking heads and idiots you find in your average boxing group on social media. Okay, the ramifications of not giving this fighter the opportunity to grow by facing the best and brightest fighters that are out there, the ramifications far extend beyond the anecdotes of me or you. I think we're past trying to age Lomachenko out. Quite honestly, I don't think they're going to let Javonte Davis anywhere near him.
They scared.
Okay? Because Javonte Davis just fought an old guy, you understand? Javonte Davis is 25 years old.
He's in his prime.
To Yuri Ortiz Gamboa, who's 38. And against the 38-year-old, shot and hobbled fighter You needed 12 rounds to put the finishing touches on that guy. 12 fucking rounds. Okay, and that guy's 38.
Mediocre.
So what are you going to do with Vasil Lomachenko? Wait till he's 38? Maybe shoot him in the foot in the parking lot so that your boy stands a chance of nailing him with a shot?
His only chance.
No, I think we're past trying to age out Vasil Lomachenko. That doesn't even seem like a solution for Javonte Davis at this point. And I know we can't expect his sycophants, his quote-unquote fans, to hold him accountable for what he's doing and demand better. I mean, think about it. These are the same guys who, ahead of the Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev fight, tried to say that Sergey was an old and past-it fighter.
Remember that?
Sergey Kovalev, who was a reigning champion, where Yuriorkis Gamboa is not. Sergey Kovalev, who defeated 2 undefeated fighters on the road to that Canelo fight, whereas when's the last time Gamboa fought somebody like that, let alone won?
38 fucking years old.
All he's done in recent memory is beat a very shot Roman Martinez. Whereas Sergey boxed the socks of the then undefeated Eleider Alvarez, the then WBO champion at 175. He boxed the socks off of that guy for 12 rounds, proving he still had something in the tank. He goes from that, he sparks out undefeated Anthony Yard, his mandatory challenger. Young, strong guy, good strong punch. Takes that guy out. And that was all en route to the Canelo Alvarez fight. Yet in spite of these facts, because that's what they are, Javonte Davis's fans, that group of guys, that group of the boxing community, they were downplaying Canelo's victory over that guy, saying that Sergey Kovalev was old. Well, if Sergey Kovalev was old, at 36 years old, holding a world title, then what the fuck is Yuriorkis Gamboa standing on one leg at 38 years old?
A corpse.
Okay? These guys don't live in a low place I like to call Earth. And these just so happen to be the same motherfuckers that don't give Terrence Crawford any credit. They downplay his resume any chance they get, and they say that he hasn't fought anybody. Yet he beat an undefeated Yuriorkis Gamboa, a primed Yuriorkis Gamboa. But they don't give Crawford any credit for that, so that they could turn around
And be high off this week's shit.
and be over the moon that Javonte Davis beat an even worse version of that fighter 4 or 5 years later?
Mediocre.
I told you, we're not dealing with rational people. So don't look to rationalize with irrational people. These are emotionally driven, petulant children, no matter how old they are. And these motherfuckers really ain't boxing fans. I've been telling you guys this for at least 2 years. But don't look to reason with unreasonable people, because no matter what is said, the ramifications themselves are all the same. If Javonte Davis is so protected from the elements that are out there in the boxing cosmos, he will be rendered unprepared for them, because that's what babying a fighter does. It really is just a matter of time, and we're seeing that it's starting to catch up.